What's up, guys? Welcome back to Table Talk Tuesday. My name is Joseph.
I'm Daniel.
And today we are talking about eternity, and this is a little series we want to continue for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about eternity and what it looks like from a biblical standpoint.
Yeah.
And to better introduce this topic, we actually have a short clip for you guys to watch that'll start. Right?
Yeah. So you can find this and many other ones like this. You have people going on the street asking people what they think about heaven, hell, eternity. So we just want to show a quick one and kind of get into it.
Yeah.
So what do you think happens after we die?
Spiritually, nothing. That's my view.
After this, we're just sitting in a black pool of nothing.
I think we cease to exist.
Okay.
Of course, the memory remains for the people that cared about us.
And you have any fear towards death with that belief?
No, not yet at
Is that
least.
freeing in some way?
If you die, I think there's nothing to feel free about. Like you can't feel anything about anything.
Oh man.
I think.
Yeah, that freaks me out. But if you're right, I guess I won't see you on the other side.
I think that's the freeing part about it. You won't care about anything because you won't be able to care about anything.
Wow.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Well, that's intense. What's your first thoughts on what he said?
I think that's pretty crazy, because if there's nothing, when we die we go to nothing, then we better live life now.
Yeah, and that's the perspective our culture is. All right, and this is important because we just want to start today talking about the reality of eternity. But the thing is, if we think there is an eternity, then the flip side of that is that we think everything here is all that there is, and therefore we'll do anything and everything possible to get as much pleasure and joy and success, whatever is the here and now.
Mm-hmm.
And we get so fixed. But the thing is, all these things around us are all temporary things. We know it. We know it's all temporary. The example I always think of is we're filming from an iPhone.
Yeah.
And what's your iPhone? Is yours?
13 Pro.
13 Pro. And that's how many generations behind now? You're like 4?
Yeah.
That's crazy. 4 generations. But like you go back just to I think it's 2007. 2007 is when the first iPhone came out. And that was
small.
Man. That was it's a little guy. It was groundbreaking. This was amazing. I'm not gonna lie, I was a hater. At first I was like, nah, touchscreens aren't gonna make it. They won't last.
Dang.
I'm all about those buttons. All right.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, here I am now. Okay. I live in my mistakes. Okay. But here's the thing: is that came out. That was gonna be the best, most advanced, greatest thing. What are we? 19 years later, here we are. And we're like,
Huge
dude, what is on 17 now?
Yep.
17. So like, what they thought was the most important thing at the time is now gone. No one's getting an iPhone 1. Like no one's getting that.
Nope.
And if you're like, what are you doing? Because those things are gone and temporary. We know these things are temporary. You look at anything else, cars. You look at the very first car made to what is today. Like the changes in development are insane, and it's cool, it's great. But the thing is, we get so fixed in the moment that this is the most important thing. Everything's about this central thing, but those won't last. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a verse you had. You were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
You want to read that for us?
So our verse that I have prepared today is 2 Corinthians 4:18, and that verse says, "As we look not to the things that are seen, but we look to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transcendent, but the things that are unseen are eternal."
All right, so it says, look to the things that are unseen, because they're eternal. Don't look at the things that are seen, because they will not last. What do you think that means for us right now? What does that like practically play out? What does that mean?
I think practically there's things that we can see that are very important. However, a lot of things that we can see are taking up too much time that are unimportant. So for example, I can see TikTok. However, I should not be scrolling on that every day.
Yeah, it doesn't last, bro.
Yeah, it doesn't last. And then when I get to like the 5th video, I forget what was on the other videos. So it's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
I think we need to really focus and realize what's important and what's not important, and focus on that.
Yeah, that's a good point, because when we get into this conversation about heaven, hell, what happens after we die, it's funny because we live in a culture that I think this guy kind of wraps up our culture and generally our culture, not every single person you talk to.
Yeah.
Our culture's approach to life. All right, that other cultures and in history, there's been many people that believe and held like there is life after you die. This is all temporary. These things won't last. Like there's life after you die. Now you can look at the cultures and what they thought, but we live in a culture right now that largely ignores that reality. That we think that this is everything. And in fact, they think it's so much that they're trying to do things to overcome what they would see as the one stumbling block to this, which would be death. And so like we will conquer death through technology, through science, through medicine, whatever it might be. We will conquer death and we will basically live here forever. That's not going to happen. You can see this in movies actually, but there's a belief called transhumanism, which is this belief that you could ultimately transfer your consciousness to another a being or something else. All right, kind of like get a flash drive or something in a computer, you plug into the next one. And so they believe that, and they believe that because they don't believe we have souls. And so they think, we're going to get so advanced technology-wise, with medicine, that we are going to be able to transfer our bodies, or keep transferring our bodies, or put ourselves in the computer, whatever it is, we're going to be able to continue on forever. It's not going to work.
Wow.
Because 10 out of 10 people will die. And we don't like talking about that. 10 out of 10 people will die, and we will live eternally. The only question is where we're going to live eternally.
Wow.
And let me point out a few people, like, I found this interesting quote. This is by the first president of Facebook, Sean Parker. He says, "Because I'm a billionaire, I'm going to have access to better health care. I'm going to be like 160. I'm going to be part of like this. He says this class of immortal overlords."
What the?
Whoa, that's crazy. Another person stated this TED Talk said the first human beings who will live to be 1,000 years old are already born. I'm like, yeah. You're wrong.
Probably not.
It's not gonna happen because everyone has this idea. Now that doesn't mean you don't eat healthy and try to have longevity of life. That's not what I'm saying. But we think that all these things will conquer death and we will live forever in this moment right now. And that all is centraled on everything here right now is what's important. This is all that lasts. It doesn't. Things are temporary. And I think of this. Jesus talks about this in Matthew 6. This is a very powerful statement. I mean, Jesus had a lot of powerful statements, kind of, knock people in the brains all the time. But this is Matthew 6. He says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moth and rust do not destroy, and thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." Wow. So you see, he's talking to people, and he gives another parable. I think I forget where it's at. There's a parable he gives of this guy that has so much stuff that he's like, this guy went, he had so much stuff, he built another barn and put it all in it. He's like, basically like this fool, for tonight he's gonna die. And he's built all this stuff, put all this stuff in the barn, but why does that matter? He's gonna die and he's gonna live eternally. He's gonna stand before God. And it's like, wow, that's a hit to the face. And so this is what we want to hit at, because we have to face the reality that these things are temporary. This life, this laptop, as much as I love this laptop, it's temporary, and we invest so much in things that will not last. And so as you think about this, why are we as people or culture constantly always focused on what will not last? What do you think?
I think as a culture, we're really focused on what we can have, and so we get focused on the wrong things. And so, I mean, you'll be focused on your day-to-day life that you forget to pray to God that day, I feel like. And so it's a really fast-paced moving culture that we live in. And so
it's a good point. Yeah, it's fast-paced.
It's kind of hard sometimes to stop and focus on God, I think.
Yeah, it's constantly distraction. Yeah. There's always, you could distract yourself to death.
Yeah.
Like, there's always next thing, that we don't slow down, stop, and think about what matters. And Jesus came and like really kind of waking people up to the reality again of like, these things are temporary, but there is eternity. Because that plays into everything. All right, and Jesus is very clear, and we'll get about this next week about talking about hell and talking about heaven. Is that there is eternity, and we will all be there, either in heaven or hell. Like he talks about in Matthew 7, there's 2 roads and 2 roads only. There's 2 destinations only. Jesus does not mince words when he talks about this. He talks a ton about heaven and hell. And I think I read a statement where it's 13% of Jesus' statements are actually about hell or judgment.
Wow.
That's a lot. And a lot of his parables are about hell or judgment or eternity. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So I want to take very seriously what Jesus said. They said this is the most important thing. So as we're seeing, like, hey, why we get so distracted that we miss what we're here for. And so what are the things that can easily distract you? Besides TikTok. Yeah, TikTok.
Well, I think there's a couple of big things. Friends.
Get rid of all your friends.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm just kidding. No, don't.
People, social media, girls, money, cars, pretty much anything.
And again, it's not saying social media isn't outrightly bad. Friends aren't outrightly bad. It's not saying that. It's saying that, hey, have we fixed everything we do, like on social media, on how can I build up my next, like all the money I can have, kind of like as Jesus talks about, build up my little empire. And we have not stopped like, God, what do you have for me? And so I think the challenge for us as we start this is like, we want to ask, are we distracted by everything else? All these things are temporary, and haven't asked God, what do you have me for? How can I walk in the purpose you created me for? Because that is what will last. That is why we're here. Not to collect up everything and then everything will be gone. Now you could have a job for 40 years, all right? Or more, whatever, have a job, retire or whatnot, leave, and we don't like the sound of it, but we'll be replaced with somebody else.
Yeah.
Like someone else will get, like I could have this job when I'm gone, whoever knows when, like someone else can come in and I'll be replaced in that way. Like that's humbling to think, but we need to realize that even my job is temporary, even where I live is temporary, and I want to use it to the best of my ability. What God has me there for. If we're living here in this job, whatever, how can you use me in this moment? How can you reach more things that actually matter? You know, not just all these things that might not matter at all. And my challenge for those that are kind of on the edge of maybe you don't know what you believe about God, don't know what you believe about eternity, I want to challenge you to think, have you so focused on all these things, your whole life is focused on all these things, and we know that they don't last. And Jesus says, why? It's like, he's like, hey, what does it matter if a man builds up the whole empire but then he forfeits his soul? It's like, what is the point? If you forfeit your soul, what are you doing? All that money, all those houses, all those cars, all those things don't matter at all at the end of the day, because we will stand before God.
Wow.
And so that's kind of when we start off, all right? And we're going to look at more specifically, what does the Bible, specifically what does Jesus talk about hell, and then we'll look at what does the Bible say about heaven. And then if you guys have any questions, we want to have them write in, because we want to deal with questions with this, because there's a lot of different questions, a lot of different thoughts people have. But again, we don't want to share just our opinion. We want to look at what does the Bible say, all right? Because opinions are opinions, all right? We want to look at what Scripture says, what does Jesus say, and live our life based on that.
Yeah.
So, any last things you want to give to the peoples?
Yeah, if you're someone who's like the man we saw in this video, and you're maybe a little bit unsure about where you're going to go when you die, you should stop this week at some point and think about like what you believe, and stop and look at what the Bible says about where you're going to go.
Yeah, and we'll get more details out in the weeks coming on.
Yeah.
But just to challenge you at the end, understand, start looking around at things around you. Realize, oh wait, these things don't last. I will last, as in I will live eternally. We have souls, all right? We do have souls. Yeah. We will last, and then we ask, where will I go when I die? And Scripture clearly paints it, and we're going to be looking at that coming up. All right? So we'll see you guys next time.
See you guys next time.